Living with diabetes can mean facing difficult choices every day. Between testing and watching your blood glucose levels, life can get, well, a little confusing. But now there's a book that can help you live your life with ease. The Real Life Guide to Diabetes, Practical Answers to Your Diabetes Problems. And the author of the book, Hope Warshaw, is here. Hope, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great.
I just read 24 million Americans have diabetes in this country, adults, children. Now, the most common, we have type 1, type 2 for people
Correct.
that are not familiar with diabetes. Type 2 is very common.
It's very common. Basically, we have about 1 out of 8 Americans with diabetes today. And you mentioned that 24 million number. Unfortunately, about 6 million of that 24 million are not yet diagnosed. So we have a lot of people who are walking around and they don't feel the implications of elevated blood glucose.
Not yet.
Right, but if they went to their healthcare provider, they could be diagnosed with diabetes today. Now, another astounding figure to throw out is 57 million people with what today in the U.S. we call pre-diabetes. So these are people who are very much walking their way towards type 2 diabetes.
The doctors talk about children suffering from type 2 diabetes a lot because of the obesity problem in this country. Is that a direct correlation?
It is. Obesity is a direct correlation to type 2 diabetes. I have been a diabetes educator and dietitian for 30 years, and we have never seen the number of children that we're seeing today diagnosed with type 2 diabetes.
Now, your book is interesting because it guides you on how to eat out. We are Americans. We eat out way too much, as everyone tells us, but it's a fast food kind of world. You have a McDonald's at every corner, a Wendy's at every corner, open to all hours in the night. How can someone who has diabetes, and if they're on the go and need to get something in the drive-through lane, how can they do it?
Well, firstly, let's step back a minute and talk about nutrition recommendations for people with diabetes in general, and this is type 1, type 2. People with diabetes are encouraged to really follow the same healthy eating principles that we're all encouraged to follow: more whole grains, more fruits, more vegetables, more low-fat dairy. Right. The problem is it isn't so easy in our America today, and that's particularly true when you're talking about restaurant meals. One of the things that I encourage everyone to do, diabetes, no diabetes, is to split and share items.
Portion control.
Portion control. We get served huge portions at restaurants. So if you've got a willing dining partner, split and share, or get your take-home containers and split off the food that you want to eat tomorrow before you even dig in.
It's hard to even find something, you know, walking in just to get a sub or, you know, a salad that doesn't have so much of the ingredients that you can't get away from that could hurt you. What are some tips where you could avoid but still go out with your friends to get that, you know,
Well, we're
sub?
always making choices about food. We're making choices about food in the supermarket. We're making choices about food in restaurants, and that's only one of the aspects of diabetes care that we talk about in the Real Life Guide to Diabetes, but certainly focusing in on fats. For instance, never get a salad with salad dressing laden on by the waitress or the chef. Always get that on the side.
So ask for your salad dressing on the side, and you decide how much goes on.
Exactly.
Okay. Now, what about, you know, the forbidden foods that you always hear about? If you have diabetes, you must stay away from this. Are there ones you have to stay away from, or is it all, again, portion control?
That's no longer true. I mean, one of the points that we make throughout the Real Life Guide to Diabetes is to try to dispel a lot of misconceptions. And really, it was back in the mid-90s where the whole business about people with diabetes need to avoid sweets and sugars was pretty much thrown out, and that was due to research that showed that all sources of carbohydrate, from sweets to breads to potatoes to corn to fruits, raise blood glucose when eaten in the same amounts to about the same degree. So we no longer are so restrictive with people. However,
that's good to hear.
However, again, back to the nutrition recommendations for all Americans, there isn't a lot of room for sweets and sugars. So really the same recommendations apply, is to enjoy sweets, pick your favorite sweets that, you know, don't waste those calories.
Right, pick something you really enjoy and use it on that.
Right.
Now, we touched on obesity in children and type 2 diabetes. If someone, even an adult, a child that needs to cut back, you know, begin to exercise, do things like that, how do you safely manage your weight and cut back while you're living with diabetes?
Well, I think it really has to be a whole family lifestyle. It is very difficult to ask one person within a household to eat one way and for others to eat another way.
And a pain to cook for them,
right,
too.
And so I think the first stop is the supermarket, and making sure that what is purchased at the supermarket and what is stocked in the house cultivates healthy eating habits for the entire family.
We have just about 30 seconds left with you. Are there any exercises that these people should avoid, or they start slowly? Quick tip.
No, people with diabetes in general should be more physically active. Again, same recommendation as all Americans. I encourage people to start with walking. It's easy, it's
everybody
out there
can do
and available.
It's not that challenging.
And most people can do it.
All right. Hope Warshaw, author of Real Life Guide to Diabetes. Thanks for coming in. We appreciate it.
Thank you.